Welcome to Reimagining Miami Gardens. In this groundbreaking podcast dissertation, we examine the profound impact of leadership on government with a specific focus on how it shapes the city of Miami Gardens. Through insightful interviews, in-depth analysis, and compelling narratives, we uncover the intricate dynamics between leadership and governance, highlighting the transformative power of effective leadership in shaping the trajectory of a city. Join us on this enlightening journey as we explore the role of leadership in driving positive change and development in the now vibrant community of Miami Gardens.
Welcome to Reimagining Miami Gardens Park podcast. I'm Oliver Gilbert, chairman of the Miami-Dade County Board of County Commissioners and the former mayor of the young and vibrant city of Miami Gardens. I'm excited to dive into the complexities of leadership in driving positive change in cities. Today, we embark on a journey to explore the challenges and opportunities faced by newly formed cities, such as the city of Miami Gardens, in their quest for transformation. In our study, we aim to address the pressing issues that hinder city progress, from bureaucratic obstacles to limited resources, and the critical role that leadership plays in overcoming those challenges. The purpose of our research and the discussions on this podcast is to uncover the strategies employed by city leaders to drive successful city transformation initiatives and provide insights into the essential elements of effective leadership in urban development. Join me as we navigate the intricacies of city management through policy and administration, examine the importance of collaboration and strategic decision-making, and uncover the valuable lessons learned from successful city transformation initiatives. Together, let's explore the transformative power of leadership in shaping the future of our cities. In this episode, we discuss community development, the process that brings people together toward a common goal to improve the quality of life in their community. Joining me today is Theresa Therilus, former city manager of North Miami and the current chief operating officer for the county commission. She'll be leading our discussions. Theresa.
Chairman Gilbert, thank you for having me again. Let's get started. So we have all heard the phrase, it all starts with parks when they refer to cities, right? And it really means that a community that has nice parks really engages the community and has many other things and can come together. Can you share with us some of the key strategies you implemented to develop and maintain beautiful parks in Miami Gardens?
Well, one of the first things I did was actually talk to people and ask them what they wanted on parks. One of the things I noted is that Miami Gardens as an area has the most vibrant youth football program in the entire country, literally the entire country. The most successful program from top to bottom. They had 5 different parks in the entire country. What that told me was that people were actually used to coming to parks and they were used to engaging on parks. But I also knew that parks had to be more than football. And so I started talking to folks about what they wanted on parks and what they were doing on parks in other areas. And what I found was people were taking their kids to other cities and other communities for gymnastics and science camps and all of these other things. So I started talking to folks about that. And that was one of the things that gave birth to the general obligation bond. When we invested $60 million, millions of dollars on parks. The idea was that we would have science, technology, engineering, mathematics, recording studios, television production areas, all on city parks. So that when you took your kid to the park, if they weren't athletic, like my thing when I was young was a football player. I played football. That's what I loved, football. But kids now, they might not want to play football. They might want to learn how to be, a producer for a record, or they might want to do some editing, or want to be a scientist, or they might want to do gymnastics, or they might want to learn wrestling or martial arts. Well, all of those facilities can be built into the park system. And so I came up with the idea of the general obligation bond. And the idea was that we would invest in our parks because investing in our parks was investing in our kids, and investing in our kids was investing in our future. And the community said yes. And so we went about, we began in earnest building out our parks so they could be reflective of the desires that the people wanted for their kids going forward. But it also brought people in because it engaged their imagination, and engaged their desires. It engaged their hope and understanding of what we could become together.
Did you have any town halls or did you do kind of door knocks? How did you get the word out and the communication coming back in?
We had some town halls, and the first ones were kind of brutal. I think we talked about it in one of the other episodes. It was brutal, man, because people, look, when you've had a community and expectations are an extraordinary thing. And so when you have a community that has low expectations for what they can do together, low expectations of what they deserve. So the very first step was raising their expectations. You actually do deserve more. You can't think about other communities and other people as deserving something more than you. You deserve it also. Raising their expectations and speaking to that, and then convincing them that we could do it together. You know, it's so interesting. I remember a story. It's a kid on the park. And litter is one of my things. I hate litter. Everybody around me, I hate litter. I will stop the car to pick up trash. I hate litter. And so I'm on a park, and a kid, there's a garbage can right there. It's like a garbage can right there. And the kid throws a whole bag of trash right there on the ground. And so I say, hey, what are you doing? Pick that up. I said, you wouldn't do that in Aventura. He said, no. Then why would you do it here, where you live? Pick it up. So I forced the kid to pick up the trash, but that's part of speaking standards, establishing standards, and making people understand that subconscious thing, that things that you wouldn't do. So it's not just the stuff that you want to bring here, it's how you conduct yourself here. The things that you wouldn't do in other communities, you shouldn't do in yours. The things that wouldn't be accepted in other communities. And you accept that it won't be accepted in other communities. So you govern yourself accordingly. Why wouldn't you govern yourself the same way for your own community? Why would you allow for lesser behavior? Why would you do that? And so having those conversations and letting that be a part of not just something we did in town halls, not just something that was marketing. This is who I am, and this is who I want you to become. I want you to become an ambassador of this standard. That we deserve better, we will not accept less, and so that type of engagement happened often.
Now, which park has a pull-up bar? Because that's what I care about.
Okay, you can go to Lester Brown Park. They have a pull-up bar. You can do a pull-up.
I mean, I did once before, a long time ago.
So this is not in elementary school, as an adult.
Yes, as an adult.
That didn't have the air of believability. But okay, it was nobody in the room right now thinks that you're being truthful. But it's fine. You know what? I'm with it. She does pull-ups. Okay.
I don't now, but I did as an adult.
Well, you know what? You can get there. And that's why we have it on parks now. You can do pull-ups. And even on the Dolphin Trail there, we're actually putting exercise machines out there now. So you can go out there and practice your pull-ups. I don't want to be able to do a pull-up. Pull-ups are hard. That was hard when I was young. It's really hard now. I'm not doing pull-ups.
So you also had the Keep Miami Gardens Beautiful program. Can you tell us what that is and how did you get residents involved in the initiative?
Well, we made them competitive about it first. We started giving out awards about who had the best house and who had the best garden, who had the best landscaping. And it was all an idea that, listen, if you're competing, you're actually trying to win, right? And so you're trying to make sure your place looks the best. And it was an amazing thing because just that portion of it got people thinking like, hey, we can be competitive on this. And then we expanded it to, why don't we actually partner with different sororities, fraternities, churches, civic organizations about how we can go up and we can do cleanups in areas. We can keep Miami Gardens beautiful because ultimately it's going to be us. This is our home. The responsibility is ours. We're going to keep Miami Gardens beautiful. We're going to make it beautiful. We're going to keep it beautiful. And engaging the community that way, engaging their desires. Look, they knew what they wanted. They just needed somebody to remind them and tell them and encourage them that we could actually do it. They knew that they didn't want, medians without landscaping. They knew that they didn't want trash. They didn't want trash every place. They knew that. They knew they wanted those areas cleaned up. And they were willing to be active participants in it. They knew that, having that one house in the area that was an eyesore was a problem. I know they knew it was a problem because they were calling code enforcement. It was funny. I remember one city council meeting, somebody came and they were complaining up against code enforcement. They were going in and going in and going in, and you all did this and you all did that. And I stopped. I said, listen, I appreciate what you're saying, but we don't actually have enough code enforcement officers just to go out and find people. So what we do is actually we're responsive to complaints. So if we know that your house has been stuccoed and not painted for 2 years, if we know that your driveway is in disrepair and your fence is falling down, it's because someone called and told us. And so what they're saying is this. They're saying they appreciate the fact that you live there, but they don't want your house to bring down the value and the quality of their living. So they're asking us to make you maintain a minimum standard. But I don't want you to think that we're harassing you. We're not harassing you. This is the community saying, we won't accept that. And so they said it. So your 2 minutes are up for complaining now. We're giving you time to actually fix it because it's code compliance, not necessarily code enforcement. We're giving you time to fix it, but you're going to have to fix it. And so with that understanding, people began to get it. First, it wasn't the city, or in fact, maybe it was the city, but the city is actually the aggregated force of the community. It's them operating through us and enforcing a standard. This is going to be the standard. And with that understanding, we move forward.
Yeah, there's always a lot of complaints when it comes to code.
Yeah.
And just trying to find that balance between code enforcement and keeping everything nice.
Yeah.
After you kind of put in this City Beautiful program, can you talk about what the difference you saw in terms of the aesthetics and the quality of life in Miami Gardens?
It changed, but it changed slowly. There are always people who hold on to it. Why you got to do this? This ain't, I remember people coming, you ain't got to do this. Why you got to do this? This ain't Coral Gables. This ain't Aventura. This ain't Miami Beach. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? We're going to do it anyway. And so having people adopt that new standard, it's not something that people accept, all of a sudden. It doesn't just happen like that. And so, but when they find that you're serious and that you're not going to change and that you will not back down. And I think that a lot of that it's in the leadership of the city, the administration of the city, but it's also in the community. The community not backing down with the standard. And so I would say these things about parks, and I say these things about, cleanliness and keeping litter up and cleaning up the city and cleaning up garbage, and people would complain and complain and complain. And I would note that when I was mayor, we didn't have one incumbent lose a race. This is going to be the hard line that we're going to take. We're going to stick to it. We're going to say that we did it. And if they don't like it, then they can vote against us. But what I found is most people understand, most voters, they understand that this is the standard we have that improves the place that we live. It raises our property values. It makes us safer, and it's just better for us. So we said we want businesses, but you really want businesses, but you want the streets to be nasty? Who wants to move their business into a place like this? Who wants to buy a home in a place like this? You want people to invest in your community, then you have to show that you actually care about your community, how it looks. And so, it mattered.
You also did several kind of projects just promoting healthy lifestyle. Talk to us about that.
Listen, well, one of the things I did was I started the Office of Civic Engagement. And so the idea was that we were going to engage the community in a whole bunch of different areas. Underneath that, we had the Mayor's Fitness Initiative and the Mayor's Fitness Challenge. And so we actually set up, people can actually come out and exercise and get fit and learn about healthy living together. And so Miami Gardens engaging in this area was new. But one of the things I noted was it was our way of actually keeping each other accountable. We would have, and I would tell the story about New Year's resolutions. And so everybody would have these New Year's resolutions, right? And you would say, I'm gonna start eating well and exercising this year. I'm not pointing at you specifically. I'm not doing that, Carlos. I'm not pointing at you specifically. So the first thing I would note is you don't need to wait to the new year to have a resolution. But the other thing is people would say they would fall off. And the number one thing was no one was holding themselves accountable. So I said, why don't we just do it together? Why don't we just say we're going to exercise 3 times a week together? We're going to get out here and we're going to walk this trail, this library trail. We're going to walk it together. And then I said, well, why don't we start doing some yoga together? And why don't we start doing boot camp together? And you know what? Why don't we? Because exercise is just one part of it. Let's incorporate some seminars and classes on about how you can eat better and live better and what health really matters. And why don't you actually let's take our friends, be accountable to say, hey, you know what? Why aren't we actually going to the doctors and getting checked up? Take a loved one to the doctor day. Why aren't we doing things like that? So then we did it. We did it all through civic engagement. We did it all through, our health initiatives. And it caught on. It caught on because we engaged our local health providers. We engaged our local healthcare system. We engaged Jackson. We engaged Baptist. We engaged, economic opportunity. I guess Jesse Trice, they're called now. We engaged all those folks. And we said we want to actually be participants in making ourselves a healthier community. And we can do it if we actually do it together. We can do it together. And we can be accountable to each other. We can talk about the same way we gather about, around youth football and all these other things. We can gather and we can have fun together. And we can be accountable to each other about how we actually live. And so we did it.
I think that's interesting because nowadays people are not as connected with their neighbors, right? And so these initiatives also had to have some effect on the community and knowing each other.
Yes, it did because and you would see people who you went to high school with and you'd meet people and you these relationships and you'd have the Mayor's Fitness Challenge t-shirts and people would show up. They would show up and they'd be excited. But it was just giving them an avenue to actually channel that. Like I'm just telling them something that they know. That we can actually do this together, and you start getting the success stories about people, and we because we had the competition. So who could actually stay engaged, who came to the most meetings, who came to the most outings, and who had the best results. And so we added those metrics and measuring people in the very beginning, in the middle, and the end. And you start getting success stories about people losing 25 and 30 pounds, and people bringing down their blood pressure, and people their cholesterol is better, and their sugar count is better, and you start getting those stories, and those stories became contagious because you realized that it could be done, not just on TV or on the internet, or just not just in a marketing campaign, but it could be done. The person you saw the transformation, you saw them lose the weight, you saw their commitment. If they committed, and all they did was commit, you could too. And I would just say, just an hour a day, just do something. Be active an hour a day. If you can't do an hour, start 30 minutes. Just be active. Just be active. Just invest in you for that moment. Investing in you. We invest in so many other things. We give ourselves to so many other things. If we don't have our health, we don't have anything. We're trying to build a community that's going to be fantastic, that you won't be here to enjoy. Is that the plan? No, invest in yourself. And we did, and they did it, and it helped. And these are all the things that actually, civic engagement, the Live Healthy Miami Gardens, all of these things went into us actually becoming an All-American city in 2020.
Well, it's interesting, talking about how you kind of led these initiatives. At some point, you kind of have to measure what your brand is, right? As a politician in your city, considering how popular your initiatives have become, how did that help in terms of you as a mayor there?
Well, I guess a friend of mine used to always say you dance on a lot of scenes. But what I found was that not everybody saw the community. The community wasn't the same for everyone. So some people were uniquely interested in business development. Some people were interested in community events. Some people were interested in parks, and some people were interested in public safety. And this was just another avenue that I used to engage a segment of the community that this was their interest. Like this was community. I remember, and it's a different example, but I remember talking to somebody about code enforcement officers and crossing guards. Because I would go and I would visit the crossing guards. Like every year, right before school, I would go and I would talk to the crossing guards. And I'd tell them how important their job was. Like your job, you have one of the most important jobs in the entire city. And so I remember one of my colleagues was like, hey, well, what's up? Why are you talking to the crossing guards? It's like, well, you know, if someone's walking their kid to school or the kids are walking to school and they get to an intersection, the person who makes sure they cross safely, that's a city employee. That person who's walking their kid to school or sending their kid to school, they may never come to City Hall. They may never meet the mayor. They won't see the city manager or even the police chief. They won't meet any of the department directors. But the face of the city for that person is the crossing guard. The city operating well for that person is the crossing guard. Good city administration, good leadership, it's the crossing guard. They're the ambassador. Their only interaction with the city is this person who helps their kid cross the street safely so they can get to and from school. And I say that because we have this thing where the mayor's the mayor, and I was the mayor, and so I'm the face of the city. But I'm the official face of the city. The city has a lot of faces. And how you interact with the city, those touch points. Finding ways to engage in all of those areas. Live Healthy Miami Gardens, civic engagement, the mayor's fitness and health challenge and initiatives, all of those things were different touch points because I realized that people engage the cities in different places in different ways. And if we could actually reach different populations in different ways in different times, it would make me more popular, but it would make us more successful, and it did.
As you were trying to implement some of these community development initiatives, did you face any challenges? And if you did, talk to us about how you overcame them.
Well, you know, people are always skeptical, right? And there's always critical. Like what I found was like people just wanted to hate on something. Like they wanted to have those times where they just wanted to criticize it, and so they were going to always criticize. And so my general thing is, if you're talking about me, but I'm not talking about you, I'm probably winning. And so we would just keep doing things, and people were like, "Oh, he's just doing that to be seen." And you know what? But even if I were, people are still enjoying the activities, and it's still making them healthy, and it's still reaching them, and it's still bringing the community together. I remember when we started karaoke in the gardens. Oh, why do you need to have karaoke? Why not? If you don't like it, don't come, but you don't have to sing. Just come and just have fun. You know, you don't want to come and walk the trail. You don't have to come and walk the trail. Why are you criticizing it, though? You are really right now criticizing people actually coming out and walking and getting healthy together. You're criticizing, oh, why do you want to do trap yoga? Because I like trap music and I like yoga. So what I'm going to do is give people the opportunity to do it together, but you don't have to come if you don't want to. But right now, you find yourself criticizing people coming together to do yoga. Just think about what you're doing. And so just actually repeating their criticisms to them out loud in front of people was an extraordinarily successful strategy. Because in one fell swoop, I could just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to repeat what you just said. And even if everything you say is true, what is it hurting and why do you care?
Absolutely.
It was very successful because it silenced critics really quickly. Because one, you don't have to participate, but two, even if you think that, oh, he's just doing that to be seen, is he helping people? Is he bringing us together? Is it bad for us? So now you have all of these health initiatives, and people are healthier. People are lost weight. People lowered their blood pressure. People are eating better. And they're doing it together. They're accountable. They're working together. And you're saying that's a bad thing? Because you think that he did it to be seen. So, but if him being seen is still helpful to you individually and the community collectively, how is that a bad thing? And asking that question out loud, getting to the actual crux, the meat of the situation, it was very helpful in actually fighting against critics. Because they realized that people realized they were attacking me, not the program. The program was beneficial. So people kept participating. They became popular.
Well, let's talk about this karaoke, because you also brought several events. Aside from these fitness things, you brought a lot of other events. Talk to us about how you started the karaoke, and tell us about what it's doing now.
Well, listen, karaoke now, I started it, but I started, it was maybe a couple of hundred people. I think they had like 13,000 people doing karaoke at Betty T. Ferguson Recreational Complex. 13,000 people doing karaoke in the Gardens. It operates quarterly now in Miami Gardens, and it's huge. But it's a great example of how you start something, and most things start small. And you just keep working at it, and you keep growing it. And you keep working at it, and you keep growing it. And now people come from other states to go to karaoke in the Gardens, in Miami Gardens. It's the wildest thing I've ever seen.
I've got friends from the South.
Yeah, the
like,
South
I'm
come
gonna
up.
be
Like they come up. Like it's a
karaoke.
thing right now. Like, it's funny, all the politicians come and they want to be on stage at karaoke in the Gardens. And I'm just sitting down I go up there and I talk, and when I started this, I remember when people criticized it, and no one would come do karaoke in Miami Gardens, and this won't be fun, and it's not going to be safe, and we ain't never had no incidents. We gotta close the gates because it's overflowing. It creates a traffic jam on 27th Avenue, But it's the idea that we could just come together and have community events. Like, cities are one thing, but communities have events and they have amenities, and we participate and we come together, and you feel that. Like, that's an energy that's actually palpable. You can touch it. You can touch the energy. It creates something. And just doing that, it was karaoke in the Gardens. It was poetry in the Gardens. Like, we did everything. We're gonna have fun here together, because we can't just be in this city and be the city of Miami Gardens. We have to be the community of Miami Gardens, and that requires us to actually engage. And so we engaged. Like, I want to do it. Oh yeah, well let's do it. Let's have midnight basketball. You all want to try that? Let's try it. Let's bring all type of sports leagues. We started swim teams. Let's do things. Let's do things. And that type of attitude, that type of enthusiasm, that type of just really assertiveness and aggressiveness, a fearlessness. Like, if we have the opportunity to do these things together, and the only thing that could happen is that it would fail. Well, what are we really talking about right now? So if people don't like it, they won't come. But they did. They do like it, and they did come. And now they're coming in record numbers.
So we have typical offices or departments in a city, and you just kind of came up with, I'm going to do this civic engagement. How do you decide you're going to come up with the Office of Civic Engagement? And where are you when you come up with this idea?
It was on the weekend. Everything happens on the weekend. So I have these great ideas on the weekend. I come up with them on a Monday morning. I say, hey, you know what? I walk in my Monday morning meeting, which were legendary meetings in Miami Gardens that no one really wanted to attend. It was the manager, the police chief, the assistant city manager, my staff, and it was, hey, what are we working on, and what are you all doing, and where are we at on these projects? I wanted to keep everything moving. And so I come in and I say, I'm going to start this department. And the managers look like, well, that's a department. I said, yeah, I know. So attorney drafted an item. We're going to start the Office of Civic Engagement. And what is it going to do? It's going to engage the community completely. All of these things we're doing, we're going to put them under the department, and we're going to bring somebody in to manage it. And so it's going to be our marketing wing, but it's also going to do the live healthy stuff. It's going to be all of these activities. Everything we're doing, we're going to dedicate a department and city resources to make sure it's done well, to standardize it, and to make sure that we have actually processes in place so that everything runs like a well-oiled machine. And so we're going to do it. We're going to find somebody. We're going to bring them in. We're going to pay them a good salary. We're going to have staff there. We're going to standardize our look with all these flyers. I see all these flyers are going out. They look all type of ways. No, we're going to standardize that. We have a list that's growing every day. We're going to manage it. Everything we do, it's going to be done well. Everything will be done well. And it will give us an opportunity to engage in things like voting, the importance of voting. I want them to know that it's important to vote. I want us to register people to vote. The importance of health. I want us to continuously say that. The importance of us actually being the standard bearers, everybody individually the standard bearers for this city. I want to be talking about these things all the time. We can do that. And so we create the department. We bring some folks in, and it takes off. It takes off. Turns out that the council, they approve it, and they end up loving it. Because now there's a place where all of these initiatives to have a home. Now there's someone a professional, because I'm a lawyer by trade. I don't do events. I don't organize stuff. I have people who do that. I have good ideas. I go out and I find the money for it. But I don't organize any of this stuff. I can't put together a flyer. If they ask me to put together a flyer, it'll be stick figures. I can't put together a flyer. It'll be stick figures, but they will be orange and green. So you have to be orange and green stick figures. They will be orange and green stick figures. But it'll be stick figures for sure now. I'm not, if you ask me to put together a dinner or something, I can make a mean macaroni and cheese, but I can't, I'm not decor person. I'm not going to make sure this stuff. We do first class events in Miami Gardens because we standardize that. Hey, listen, get this office, put these civic engagement folks in here. Let's get some people, some event people in here. Let's get some marketing people in here. Let's get some organizing people in here. They can figure this out. And you can partner them with all these other organizations. You got people want to register to vote. We're going to have a register vote component in every one of these events. If you come to these events, you can register to vote. We can have that right here. You're doing all these farm shares. Okay, well, let's figure it out. And then COVID comes, and we have civic engagement. And so we use civic engagement to engage and distribute masks and hand sanitizer and food. And we already have a department in place that has access to everything else. So civic engagement has the connection with parks. This is how we want you to set this up. They have the connection with public works. This is how we want the line to run. This is how we're going to advertise it. They have the connection with police. Well, this is how you're going to direct the traffic. We already knew how to do everything because the department had been put in place that engaged on that level, something that could communicate across departments for events that were front-facing and actually engage the community. That's why when people say, well, how are you all doing this so quickly? And we're doing it because we knew how to do this. It had been set up already.
You created the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about kind of leadership in terms of getting a community together and following these initiatives, right? It can't just be you by yourself. What are some of your leadership principles that you used in kind of working through the community development piece?
I mean, I think of follower-based leadership when it comes to that because it really couldn't just be me. It really took all of them. Like people talk about me in transformation of Miami Gardens, and I was the mayor. But I was a kid from Miami Gardens, so I had the benefit of having lived here my entire life, spoken to these folks, so I knew who they were and what they wanted. I knew they just needed somebody to galvanize them. They just needed somebody to remind them. They just needed somebody to be the spark, somebody to tell them it was okay to raise the standard, to raise the bar. They just needed that. They needed that on parks. They needed that in community standards with regard to keeping Miami Gardens beautiful, with regard to things like code enforcement and landscaping. They needed that. They needed that. And I gave them permission to do that. I empowered them. I reminded them that they were the standard bearers. They were the people who would decide what would be good enough and what wouldn't be good enough. It would be them. And enabling them to do that, empowering them to do that, engaging them through civic engagement, giving them an avenue to speak and reach back and talk and participate. What it did was it created a community that competed with itself about whose house could look the best. A community that said, no, hold on. We want to crack down on illegal dumpers. We want people out there trying to arrest them because they can't come and dump in this community. And so it was that follower-based leadership. It was them. And what you'll find is, especially in things like community development, especially in things like parks and community development, those things, you need not one person, you need 1,000. You need everybody on board. Because if you don't have them on board, if you don't have them enforcing the standards in all those little areas and participating in all those little areas, it just doesn't work.
Final thoughts.
I mean, it really does all start in parks, right? So we changed the standards for the community in parks. We invested in the public infrastructure in parks. That investment actually ends up leading to a lot of private investment, I think. It really starts in parks. It started in parks because that's the place where we went as a community to do all of our things, to have all of our fun, and to actually reestablish who we were in some ways, rearticulate what the standards would be, rearticulate what our efforts would be to maintain those standards, and actually lean forward into what Miami Gardens would come. It started in parks.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Reimagining Miami Gardens. Join us for our next episode as we dive into the leadership principles that guided the transformation of Miami Gardens into the vibrant city it is today. Until then,